So Claire, Amaranthia, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so excited that you guys are here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about your, we'll emphasize on we'll get to the business second, but let's kind of talk about your story, because you guys have a very complicated story. And I think since you've had, for you, Amaranthia especially, since you've had some international experiences and what your trauma and healing and your road to healing has been on, or that you had to go through, I should say. My brain's getting ahead of my mouth here. Sorry, guys. That's unique. That's unique. And so I don't think many people go through that experience, because not everyone lives internationally. So we'll start with Claire, and then I want to touch on Amaranthia, but so one at a time. Why don't you guys share a little bit about your trauma and your experiences, because that's going to tie into how we get into the business, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yes. So I'm Claire, and I was born in Barbados. I'm going to be 60 years old next week.
Oh, this week.
Oh, shoot. Yes. Saturday.
Yes.
Already. Yes. I'm going to be 60. And so I was born under domestic violence. My father was the aggressor. And I saw my mom being abused from very early, and we were always running. My mom was always running with my younger brother and I to get away from it. And I just, from a very early age, because I would throw my body in front of my mom, and I would take a lot of the blows, because it was always a very strong child, a very strong person, and I would throw my body in front of my mom whenever it would happen. And over the years, I just was like, one day I'm going to get out of this. One day I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to help my mom. And I remembered the first time it happened, a baby suddenly appeared on my mom's on our doorstep, and that was the time we ran to a family member. And it was there that my father came back for my mom, and he started to beat her, and I could hear it from when I was sleeping. And that, in the middle of that, there was this light that was burning, candle, a kerosene lamp, something. And I remember that light made me feel comforted, even though I felt I heard the noise outside of my mom screaming. And that inspired me to, even though that as the years went on, the blows kept coming, the violence kept getting worse. And it inspired me as I got older, that light to look forward and to know that there's something better. I don't know how, but I continued determining that I would one day go back and help my mom. When I turned like 15, we totally separated. My brother was put out on the street. I turned 15, dropped out of school. Things got worse. I ended up in bad situations from there. And I said, one day I'm going to write, and I'm going to become a well-known writer, and I'm going to come back and help my mom. And I'm also going to help other women that go through this, And so I went into my 20s. I got off the island. I got to the United States, and I made a bad decision and overstayed a visa, and didn't think about the consequences of that. And then I had to face that. And I had people who heard my story and helped me and advocated for me. And I went back to Barbados, faced it, and was able to get back and come back and go to college. Because when I was illegal, I got my GED and SAT. So I came back, went to college. People saw, and I started to tell my story at college in Pennsylvania, California University of Pennsylvania. Someone saw my work from Mount Holyoke, recommended me for the Frances Perkins Scholar program. And Frances Perkins Scholar was the first female Secretary of Labor under Roosevelt. So they have a program for older women returning who have had experiences like mine, who've had journeys like mine. I told my story, and with my SATs and GED, got into the program. And for 4 years, I developed this program that told my story. And in the end, I wrote a play, and the play was called Shadows of Voodoo. And that was the beginning of my journey. It took me to Senegal, to the door of no return, Goree Island, where the slaves were first sent off. And it was there that we determined that I would break the pattern of intergenerational abuse. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to break it through my work. And then Amaranthia was born. Before I graduated, I was 36. She was born. And it was from there that I started to tell her about my journey. And so she got inspired by it. And then it came turn for her to be in high school and her bullying started. She started doing her work inspired by my work. And it brought us to this point where we now have a show, Art of Mind and Sista Creatives, which is all linked to that beginning. It goes all the way back
to the 90s.
To the 90s, to the work that I did in college, and all the way back to when I was a child, wanting to inspire to help my mom and to help other women.
Wow.
That light.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What really struck out to me when you were sharing your story, Claire, was when you said that you had this burning light, you had this nudge. Being a Christian, for me, I would see that as a nudge from the Lord. You know, God puts those hearts and those nudges and those dreams and ambitions in your heart for no reason. But I love that you touched on a light, because I do understand that not everyone has the same beliefs. And listen, we accept and respect everybody here on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
So just a shout out, no bullying, no hate in the comments, guys, for anybody that does not align with either my beliefs or Claire and Arminthia's, because we're unique individuals and we all have a beautiful light that needs to be respected. But what stuck out to me is that even in that early time, it's like you knew. And I want to, and I think that is so important, guys, that your calling, as it were, it can happen at any age.